Hi, I'm Karen Stodeman. Coming up next on Gardener's Hotline, we'll be talking about the basics of horticulture. I'll be right back.
From the studios on the Daytona State College East Campus.
This is Gardener's Hotline, and I'm your host, Karen Stodeman, a University of Florida horticulture extension agent. Today's topic goes back to the basics of horticulture. Horticulture means cultivating, establishing, and growing plants. In other words, how to grow your plants successfully. Well, today's guest will help us to understand some of the simple practices in horticulture. Meet Bill Bodnaruck. He's the Director of Production of John's Nursery in Eustis. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Karen. It's good to be here, and I'm excited to talk about the beautiful plants we grow at John's Nursery.
Bill, how did you get started in plants?
Grandma invited me in her garden when I was 11 years old. We were growing vegetables, and I've been hooked ever since.
Well, that's a story for a lot of people. That's wonderful. Well, let's get started. I'm going to invite our viewers at home to join in the program by calling in with their questions. Here's the number to call: 1-800-901-9238. All right, Bill, let's get started with the basics.
Sure, Karen. First off, I'd like to say, show off the plants that are here on our set today.
They're lovely.
These all came from John's Nursery. John's Nursery is a production nursery. We're located in Eustis, Florida, a little bit north of Orlando. And we raise these plants on about 200 acres of land. And we ship throughout the southeast to provide plants for the southern landscapes. I'd like to talk about some of the new and exciting plants we're growing, some of the plants that are seeing a rebirth in interest. And we can start with the grasses first.
All right,
Karen,
let's do.
Okay. You may be noticing more and more on highway projects and commercial plantings and even some yards, there's these ornamental grasses like muley grass. There's grass-like plants like mondo grass. In fact, thousands and thousands of these plants were just installed at Stetson University, right here in DeLand, to substitute for turf grass in very high shade locations. And they're beautiful. This is the standard mondo grass, and this is the dwarf mondo grass.
This is adorable. Now, will this get any taller than this?
No, it won't, actually.
Will it spread?
It's a clump-forming grass. It spreads very slowly. So if you were putting this in your home landscape and needed it as a ground cover, you would need to plant them fairly close together, maybe 6 inches apart at most. And just anticipate that there's going to be open space between them for a long time.
Does it get a lot of diseases?
It doesn't get diseases or insects to speak of. It's tough and durable in the landscape in Florida. The last representative of the grass family that I have here tonight, this is cordgrass, and this is also a Florida native. And we're going to talk a bit about propagation tonight also, Karen. So the cordgrass, we'll talk about division.
Okay.
Propagation, and that goes as well for the mondo grasses. The muley grass is propagated by seed. And a little further in the program, when we talk about the shrubbery, a lot of the shrubbery is propagated by cuttings.
All right.
So we'll talk about all three a little bit later.
All right. Let's talk right now about how to propagate the mondo grass.
Okay, mondo grass or cordgrass there. What we do, and we're a production nursery, we grow millions of plants there, so a homeowner may take a little more care and divide a little more carefully, but I want to give you an idea about how rough you can be with some of these plants sometimes. A plant like this will take it out of the pot, and for division-type propagation, it's a brutal operation for the plant, so you normally want to do this during cooler times of the month, the fall, winter, or spring. We'll actually rip these plants out of the pot, use a machete to hack the roots off, hack the root ball down, and then actually tear the plant apart. And we did a little bit of prep work on this, so there's no soil splitting around. You can see that a big plant is composed of a lot of small plantlets. And
now, how many of these will fill in one of these pots? How many do you stick in the pot?
Okay, first off, we divide a clump like this down to individual plantlets,
Oh, that is small.
Like that right there. And we'll put 2 or 3 of these to a container about this size. And it may take, for this plant now, dwarf mondo is a slow-growing plant, and it may take about a year to fill in this plant, or this size pot. This is a 4-inch container. So this is This is a slow-growing plant. For mondo grass itself grows quicker, and we'll put 2 to 3 plants, or little bibs they're called, into this pot, and it may take about 8 months to go ahead and fill this pot out. The last representative that we have for division type propagation is the cordgrass. Now, cordgrass is a very vigorous grass, and we would do that about this time of year. It's a warm season grass. It's called a warm season grass, which means it responds to the warmth. But we do want to chop it and actually propagate it at this time of year before it gets too hot. The heat again is brutal on these plants if they're propagated at the wrong time of year. So you want to do it late March, April time frame.
Now, what about the muhly grass? Talk to me about how you propagate that by seed.
The muhly grass. Now, the muhly grass is a beautiful plant. It grows and flourishes. The flowers. This plant is grown for its flower, and the flower comes out in the autumn, and a number of flower spikes come out. And it's hard to describe the flowers. You don't think of grass as flowering, but all grasses do flower. And the inflorescence, the flower cluster, is a purple cloud above the plant. It's beautiful.
Wow.
And that happens in the October time frame, and when you get into November, then that purple coloration fades to a tan. Okay. It dries out. They're mature and going downhill. But that's when the seeds begin to ripen. Grasses pollinate by the wind, so you don't need to worry about bees or butterflies or that type of thing. The pollen's just blown around in the air. So the seeds do form, and as the inflorescence, as it's called, the flower mass, as it ages and turns brown in the November time frame, you can harvest the fluff and rub it between your hands. It's like a wheat and a chaff type thing.
Right.
The actual seed, if you look at it under hand lens, it looks like a grain of rice.
Oh.
And if you rub and then put it on a piece of white paper and just blow it gently, you can blow away the fluff, and you're left with the seed. And the seed germinates readily during the cooler months of the year. You need to protect it from the cold. You can,
right.
You can bring it inside during freezing time, but you can get a flat of soil, just regular potting mix. Keep it moist, and the seed pop up in about 2 weeks. And muhly grass grows like grass.
Yes.
It comes up quickly, and right now we have, just a number of flats just filled with seedlings, and we're taking clumps of seedlings and putting them up to smaller size containers for our production.
Well, we've got Chris on the line from Sanford. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the program. What's your question for Bill tonight?
Well, I moved from Pennsylvania to Florida about 18 months ago, and I have a St. Augustine grass, and I am having a heck of a time getting a nice lawn. I've tried the products at Home Depot, like fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, and I just cannot get the beautiful green grass that I'm used to up north. Any suggestions?
Well, Florida grass is just a little bit different. We have little tiny characteristics that are unique to Florida because we're in the subtropics, or I should say tropics. And it takes a little bit more effort in our Florida grasses. This year has been a particularly harsh winter on our grasses. But what I recommend to you is to contact your local extension agent in your county and get in touch with them. We have some wonderful free publications from the University of Florida, and one master gardener or perhaps the agent can help you with that, with all your questions that you have. We have wonderful varieties that we've developed with the University of Florida that you can use with a lot of success, and there's other varieties you might want to try out. So I suggest to you contact your local extension office for all kinds of free information, and that's for all homeowners who have questions on their grass, and we can help that getting back to look even better than those northern grasses. Now, tell me again, Bill, when these grasses they bloom, can the seeds be developed or saved for entire years, or do you have to use them the season that they develop?
They can be saved for years, but we don't have the equipment to do that. Humidity is a factor, temperature is a factor. Normal atmosphere, the oxygen in the atmosphere can accelerate the aging of seed. So there are commercial seed houses, seed suppliers that do specialized packing. but we don't do that. So we utilize the seed quickly. It's fresh and going to grow
Talk
well.
to us a little bit about how to propagate some of these beautiful azaleas here.
Okay.
How would you do that?
Okay, Karen, I brought red ruffle azalea, which is in flower now, and it's a beautiful show in the nursery. We grow about an acre and a half of red ruffle.
Wow.
And right now that acre and a half is just lit up in red. So we propagate. We propagate most all of our plants. We have millions of plants on the ground, and we do millions of cuttings of plants. For the seed grown material, we do either harvest our own seed or buy in seed. For the division, naturally, we have parent stock plants that we divide. But most of our shrubs are grown from cutting. Now, it's not quite the time yet to start taking cuttings. The plants are not really thinking about those types of things. They're thinking, well, plants don't think, of course, but nature is saying make flowers, make new branches, make new leaves. So a lot of the energy reserves in the plant are going to do just that. For azaleas, in the time frame of about May, when this new growth here hardens off, and by hardening off I mean develops a little bit of wood. If you see this new growth here and follow it over the next month, right now it's really soft and flimsy and pliable. Mm-hmm. Eventually that growth will elongate and wood will develop and the branch is a little bit stiff. When that happens in about the May time frame, we'll come in, and I'll just demonstrate here and take a cutting, and that could be a size of the cutting. Normally they're another 1/2 inch to 3/4 inches longer, but right now the plants are still making that.
So that's
growth.
about a 3-inch piece or 2.5 inch piece?
Well, what we say is about the width of our hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so a little bit sticking out of the bottom, a little bit sticking out of the top.
Okay.
That's a good rule of thumb for us. Now, different nurseries have different techniques.
Right.
It's just like a lot of things. Everybody has their way, but we'll go ahead and take that cutting. Now, I'll talk about how we do it in the nursery, and then I'll make some suggestions about how a homeowner can do it as well. But in the nursery, we'll take this, and azaleas can just be stuck in a soil. Now, we make our own soil. It's peat moss and perlite, about 7 parts of peat moss, 3 parts of perlite,
Okay.
and we'll mix that up. We don't use any fertilizer in it because we don't really want to grow these plants.
Right.
In this size, we just want to make roots. So we'll go ahead and stick the cutting directly in the soil, and the key to success with cuttings is keeping the air around the cuttings humid, very moist. Keep in mind that in a plant, whether it's in a landscape or a container, the plant has roots. One of the functions, and one of the main functions of the roots, is to take water out of the soil and move it up into the plant. Life's processes function in water. We all need water.
Right.
When you take a cutting, the cutting has no roots.
Right.
So there's not a good way for that little plantlet to get water. And the plant has to stay hydrated. It has to stay, the leaves have to remain turgid. In the case of shrubbery, a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. Some houseplants are quicker. You can take some houseplant cuttings and put them in a glass of water and they'll
Right.
root in a week. Shrubbery takes a long time. So the key is creating a zone of humidity around these plants. Now, in a commercial situation, we have mist cycles. Yeah. Fine water droplets come out every 2 minutes for 2 seconds, particularly when the cutting is at this stage to keep the humidity up. Now, for a homeowner, that's the challenge. If there's, if they have fountains or some moist areas around the house in deep shade, they can stick their cuttings in a pot or in a tray like this, syringe them a couple times a day, maybe even put a plastic bag around them. But you have to be careful with plastic bags because you can get too hot inside
Right.
the bags.
Right.
So, so the key is to try to keep the humidity up.
Mm-hmm.
There.
We've got Bill from Titusville. Hi, Bill. Welcome to the program. What's your question for Bill tonight?
The question is, I'd heard him talk about the mulus grass and the mondo grass being a Florida native, and that's something I'd like to hear just a little. I want to make sure I heard that right. But the next question, the real question part is that